Good morning, everyone. We will be beginning the webinar in a moment or two. We want to allow a few more individuals to join the webinar. Good morning, everyone. My name is Scott Shook. I'm with Illinois State University, and I'll be hosting today's session to let you know that the webinar will be recorded and it will be made available on the WorkNet website. You as a participant are in mute mode, and if you have a question or a comment, there is a question box as well as a comments section that you'll be able to complete or send questions in on. If you have questions, please use that. We'll also be submitting or sending out a poll at the end of the day and asking that you please complete that and let us know for survey results and survey information. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Diane Robinson to allow her to run. She's going to be helping with the presentations.
Great, thank you so much, Scott, and good morning, everyone. Looks like we have about 80 folks on the webinar so far, which is great. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. I guess, first of all, which is probably not recommended in public speaking, but let me begin with an apology, which is for the late notice. We know that we've been getting these out in a matter of days before the events. We are really sorry for that, and we're working diligently to get these webinars structured and announced much sooner. And we do appreciate those of you who have rearranged your schedules to make it possible for you to join us. So just to let you know, we're aware, we're doing everything we can to get ahead of the curve, and we think we're in a pretty good place in terms of July, so we're on our way. Also, as Scott mentioned, to ensure, in light of the fact that we've been kind of have had tight turnarounds on these, and to ensure that everyone who is interested in accessing these webinars can do so, we are recording them, and they're on, as Scott said, Illinois WorkNet. The most recent one was our June 12th webinar that Laura Dahm facilitated on the service integration self-assessment, and that recording with the PowerPoint that Laura used is on the Illinois WorkNet website. So my name is Diana Robinson. I'm the director of the Center for Governmental Studies at Northern Illinois University, and I've been providing technical support to the WIOA state agencies on a variety of policy issues, with service integration being our current focus, and it's been our focus for quite some time now. Many of you will recall that previous webinars focused on service integration policy and the service integration self-assessment process. We are repeating several of these webinars that were presented at the recent WIOA Summit, primarily because folks couldn't attend all the seminars that they wished, and we want to make sure that you all have that opportunity. So today's webinar is focusing on 3 local workforce innovation areas that have been demonstrating effective service integration practices in both the letter and the spirit of WIOA. And today's format, unlike some of the previous ones, will be more informal, a little less structured, with each presenter telling us a little about themselves and then describe how they are approaching service integration in the areas. We'll have a little time for questions after each presenter, and then at the end we'll also have about 15 minutes for additional questions or comments, and also to give you all on the line an opportunity to share some of the practices that you have found effective. So, Scott, can we go back one slide, please? These are our wonderful presenters who have, in 2 cases, agreed to do an encore presentation. Both Susan Flessner, who's the Executive Director of the Workforce Services Division of Will County. We have Rick Stubblefield, who's with The St. Clair County Intergovernmental Grant and Economic Development Departments, plural, so he has two very large hats that he's wearing. And in place of Pam Ferlin, who couldn't make it this morning, we have Brian Hensgen, who is going to share some really interesting perspectives from a community college one-stop operator perspective. They've been doing some great things in Danville as well. Our three panelists have many years of workforce experience among them. I was asked not to share how many years those are, but just trust that they are seasoned workforce professionals, and we're delighted that they're able to join us this morning. We did have Lisa Shavak tentatively lined up to join us as well. She had a last-minute conflict and couldn't make it, but that gives us a little more time to spend with these three folks, and we're grateful for that. All right, if you could advance once more, Scott, to that slide. Just a few quick announcements before we get into the heart of the presentations. I already mentioned that the webinar and PowerPoint from our last webinar, that's the link to take you into Illinois WorkNet. And these are the three upcoming service integration webinars that we will be having in July. All of them relate directly to service integration. The first one on building a supportive and accountable one-stop structure. The second is on one-stop certification, which will be modified to incorporate the service integration framework that it has been developed and adopted by the state workforce board. And then finally, at the end of July, we're going to talk about strategies to implement successful collaborations. And we'll have different presenters and different guest panelists help us out with each of those three topics. I also wanted to mention that many of you have been following with great interest the opportunity that the state agency partners have been exploring to bring WinTAC on board to help pilot sites develop more capacity in how they implement service integration. I'm really pleased to announce that Doug Morton and John Marchioro with the Department of Human Services Rehab Services area have been in touch with WinTAC. We have crafted a scope of services that will enable us to support 8 pilot sites. So all of the 8 that have requested that they be part of this pilot will be approved, and you'll be getting notification of that hopefully later today, very soon. So we're delighted that those 8 LWIAs have stepped up. We'll be learning from them because they'll be essentially doing a rehearsal of the tools and the information materials that we'll be sending out to everyone, but we'll be learning with them and are grateful for that opportunity. So with that, Scott, let's have our next slide, please. And we are going to hear from Susan Flessner, who is the Director of Workforce Services Division of Will County. We have geographically varied regions represented here. She represents LWIA 10, which is in the northeast region of the state. So Susan, I turn it over to you.
Great. Thanks, Diana. Good morning, everyone. As we were preparing for today's webinar, Diana had asked us to talk a little bit about what we are most proud of locally in terms of service integration. And I just wanted to start out by saying that, we don't have all the answers here locally in terms of service integration, and we're certainly, like everyone else, working our way across that integration continuum and trying to get as far to the right-hand side as we can. So we're not at full integration by any means, but we have had some what we consider early wins and are making a little progress in terms of at least our business services. So that's what I'm going to focus my comments on today is our business services team here at the Workforce Center of Will County. So when we first moved into our Workforce Center it's going to be almost 4 years ago, in the first month that we were here, there was one particular week where one of our local partners hosted a job fair here at the center for a local transportation company. And 2 days later, another partner hosted a job fair for the same local transportation company. So we knew early on that we needed to do a better job of our business services staff talking with each other, and not just coordinating, but actually communicating with each other about what was going on in their respective areas. So at the encouragement of our local workforce board, we engaged a consultant to work with our business services staff about 9-10 months ago. We've been working with them now, and they have convened what we consider to be our local business services staff, which consists of our Title I business services supervisor, one of the IDES staff who is stationed here at the Workforce Center, our WIB staff who handles incumbent worker training, our local OJT contractor, and our youth contractor staff person who handles youth internships. So those are the people who make up our business services team. They are a relatively self-governed group. Two of those staff serve as co-chairs, and they pretty much drive the agenda for the group and provide a measure of accountability in terms of to the one-stop operator and to the Workforce Investment Board. Working with our consultant, they've established some rules of engagement for how they work together. Obviously, when you're a professional who's calling on businesses and now you're going to share that information with other professionals, you want to make sure that everyone's going to be respectful of that information, and they also included information on confidentiality in terms of the business customers they work with and the information that's gained as a result of that. So they have rules of engagement that govern how they work together. They've just in the last 3 or 4 months started using a common database for customer relationship management. The tool that they use is not specifically CRM per se, but it's a database where all the business services activity can be entered. And more importantly, where all members of the team can see what each other is doing and keep track of the range of services that's provided to a particular business. And that was, I think all of the people on the team would agree, that's one of the most important things that they did, and one of the most important ways they keep track of what's going on with each other in addition to their monthly staff meetings. And then one of the other things that I'm really proud of is that the team developed some common marketing materials. And what they decided was that just because they had marketing materials that mentioned all of them didn't mean that they couldn't still use their individual marketing materials. So each of the partners or each of the members of the team still maintains their own marketing materials with their specific services, but they developed a really nice flyer, common marketing outreach that has the different services provided very clearly and succinctly, and hopefully easy for businesses to understand and use that information. It has all their contact information on it, and it's a way to reach out to businesses and kind of give them the full plethora of services that's provided by the local team here. So that's the part of our services that I'm probably most proud of. Also just wanted to touch based on the goals in the service integration policy. We also have embarked on a customer satisfaction survey process. We send out a monthly constant contact email survey to everyone who comes to the center, everyone who swipes into the center on a monthly basis. It tracks all the different services, or no matter what service the customer is here for, they get surveyed in that. Those survey results are shared with staff on a monthly basis. We discuss the challenges and opportunities that arise as a result of the comments that people make, and have had a chance to sit down and kind of back up and evaluate and readjust our service mix based on that. So we're pleased with the information that we get. If anyone has any good ideas for how to get a higher response rate to customer satisfaction surveys, why we'd always like to have a higher response rate, but it gives us a good overall picture of the level of satisfaction people have with the services that they receive here, regardless of what service or what partnerships they are here to access. So that's all I have for right now. I will turn it back to you, Diana.
Thank you very much, Susan. Let me
Sorry, Diana. We actually had one question for Susan, if
please.
we could, before we leave. It says, Susan, what database are you using?
Excuse me. It's actually our customer tracking system from American Governmental Services. It's called G-Stars. I have had conversations with a lot of folks around the state about that in the past. But it's the system that we use to track customers is what we initially purchased that for. We've been doing that for about 13, 14 years. But it has a section module that they've developed specifically for business services. So you can track that. You can give whoever you want access to that. You can give different levels of access in terms of what staff can view or if they can go in and change things. So it was built specifically for a business services function. So that's what made it real attractive to us, and it was already included in what we had already purchased.
So can you go into that cost factor just a little bit? How much would it run for another LWIA who wanted to adopt that tool? Do you have any idea?
You know, I have a rough idea of what we pay, but I don't know what that's based on, to be very honest with you, because it's been so long since we bought that. I don't know if it's based on number of users, so it might not be the same cost, is my point, for other workforce areas to use that. But I'm assuming my contact information is somewhere here on the slides, and I'd be happy to, talk with people individually or answer any questions offline or make referrals to G-Stars so they can chat with them about that.
Wonderful, thank you. Well, I know too that many of the folks in the field are interested in specific tools and resources that they might be able to use. Could you talk a little bit more about the customer service survey that you used? Did you develop it yourself, or is it a proprietary tool?
No, it was developed by us just because we needed to get something going, and it was just quick and dirty to start off with. We used to have little instruments in our resource room that we asked people to fill out a quick numeric survey on before they left, and we got numbers that way. But we've found that by using an email, which is, again, not a perfect method, but it's what we're using for now, we get a lot of comments. The other way of gathering information didn't allow us to gather written comments. So this system, using an email through Constant Contact, we get a lot of comments. And not only things about, oh, I wish you could do this, or could you do that, but there's a specific question that says, was there anyone who provided you with especially good service at the center on your visit? And we get tons of feedback with specific staff names of people who provided them with good service, and so-and-so took great care of me, and that's wonderful to be able to share that with individual staff and let them know that their efforts are appreciated by their customers.
Sure, definitely. And what about employer satisfaction? Are you able to collect that in any systematic way?
Not yet. We intend to do that in our continuing work with the consultant. But in our past efforts to collect customer satisfaction information from businesses, we had an even worse response rate. I mean, we just had a really, really hard time getting any kind of meaningful response rate from people. We're going to be working with this consultant to see if we can develop a better, easier way for our business customers to provide that kind of feedback, because we need that too as part of our continuing improvement efforts.
Excellent. Well, that's been a tough nut to crack for everyone, so we'll be watching. Hopefully you'll share your progress with us.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Well, thanks. Scott, any other questions come in for Susan?
Yes, we did. It says, the question is, do you use G-Star for swiping?
we use, if by swiping you mean tracking our customers, yes, we do. They are assigned a card, a swipe card, when they come on their first visit to the center. They're made aware through the GSTARS registration system of all the services that are available, not only here at the center, but we're starting to expand that to our partners who don't have a presence here at the center, but whose services can be accessed through referral. And then every time they visit the center, they swipe that card, they choose the service that they're here to access, and then that's recorded, and we are able to have information to provide to our workforce board. That's really the genesis of that swipe card system for us, is that the workforce board wanted to know how many people were accessing services and what services they access. And so yes, that's our customer tracking system as well.
It's also a great example of using a resource for multiple purposes that you may not have thought of. So very efficient use of your investments here.
One more quick question. Can you repeat what partners are on the business services team?
Sure. Our Title I business services supervisor, one IDES staff, one workforce board staff who handles incumbent worker training here locally. We contract out on the job training, and so that staff person sits on that team. And then we also contract out our Title I youth program, and they have a staff person who deals with youth internships, and he sits on that team as well.
Okay, thank you. Is that it, Scott?
That is all.
All right, thank you. Well, great questions, good clarifications. Thank you, everyone. Let's move on to Rick Stubblefield, please. So, Rick, as you can see, is the Executive Director of the St. Clair County Intergovernmental Grants and Economic Development Departments. Actually, they're two separate departments. He's way in the southwest portion of the state, about as far south as you can get, and you see a lovely photo of the St. Clair County government building, where presumably Rick is housed. So, Rick, please share with us what you've been doing with service integration.
Well, first off, I'm housed directly across the street from that building, but my building is very, very nice as well. And our service integration has been an evolution. 10 years ago, it was a very, very competitive climate here. Everybody had their own silo, if you will, and it was very competitive. Everybody was protective of the employers that they had built relationships. They were protective of the clients that they served. So IDES wasn't really sharing with, with the workforce, wasn't sharing with doors, wasn't sharing with veterans. And it was just a competitive climate. And it went like that up until really the transition to WIOA. And as that transition began to happen, we had some players that changed. We had some people with new attitudes and new ideas, and the relationships really began to develop and to gel. And I realize that hasn't been the case in every area, but I was very, very fortunate in that it was here. We had great regional representation with IDES. We have great local management with IDES. Our doors management is stellar. Our community college adult ed is fantastic. Obviously, the people that surround me, are wonderful people in workforce. So I just have been unbelievably fortunate in that we've been able to develop relationships and move things forward. And so we began, with those core partner relationships, and that's evolved a little bit. But in that, what really started to happen was a lot of cross-training between partners. So there were quarterly cross-trainings held, and our one-stop happens to be IDES has the lease to that, CMS. So IDES kind of took the lead on that and kind of worked with the other partners and began to do that. And so that kind of evolved into a collaborative orientations. So where workforce was primarily doing the orientations initially, then the rest of the core partners came in. So everybody actually speaks at the orientation. So an individual coming in truly knows what all is underneath of that roof. So everybody gets the opportunity to experience all of it. Everybody kind of had to cut back their presentations a little bit, but it works, and it gives people an idea, and that gives people the idea to kind of move forward. And those are primarily for the job seekers. But from a business services standpoint, that evolved, much like Susan says, into a really strong business services team. That team was able to work together, to partner together, and through IDS, get access to, I'm going to call them administrative rights. I don't know that that's really the right term, but to Illinois job links so that they could communicate through that and share notes and ideas so that everybody wasn't calling on the same people doing the exact same thing when it came to employers. So we were very, very fortunate in that area. And then as we transitioned a little further into WIA from WIA, we began to develop more of a regional approach. We began to work with local workforce area 22, and Dave Steckman was there at the time, and Dave kind of led that charge and brought in some consultants and said, you guys are doing the exact same things. You share boundaries. You're already meeting with everybody in St. Louis as a regional group. So why don't we do this together? And that really began to cement the relationships that we have with Madison and Bond counties. And now Madison and Bond have 2 additional counties. So between us, there are 9 counties in southwestern Illinois represented. We have a regional WIB directors meeting every quarter with, and I know this doesn't mean a lot to people that aren't in this area, but St. Charles County, probably the largest county or the fastest growing county in Missouri, St. Louis County, St. Louis City, and Jeff Frank counties. So we all come together, both business services and board directors come together once a quarter to discuss the region, what's going on, and what's happening in each of the areas. And we share a lot of ideas. We're very fortunate in that we've had a lot of recognition with our apprenticeship success. But that was really built out of what started in St. Charles County, Missouri, and the things that they were doing, and gave us the ideas and gave us some of the contacts so that we could bring that here and really work on it and develop it. So again, it's those partnerships, it's those relationships that have given us the success that we've had so far. From that regional approach, when it came to apprenticeships, we were able to work with 22. We were doing a lot of things together. We were able to go after that apprenticeship program and work together with all of the community colleges and the universities in our area and in St. Louis. And I think that built a much stronger platform for us. It gave us the opportunity to share a navigator. I think it gave us credibility because of the relationships we have in St. Louis. And so we were able to really push things forward. And, like I said, now the climate is so different, fast forward to today, and we just really have true partnerships, and that's what's led to the service integration, I think, for us. A lot like life, it's just all about relationships. And that's kind of where we stand.
Thank you. And Scott, let's see if there are any questions.
We do have a couple. So the first one, how difficult was it to begin a sector initiative?
A sector initiative, and I'm going to assume they mean in terms of apprenticeships and things like that. For us, not difficult. We have 2 sectors that are just, overwhelmed by the lack of employees they can get. So one is manufacturing, and we have some great partners at Southern Illinois University at Edwardsville that helped us kind of develop that. And they were already working with one of the community colleges, Lewis and Clark, so it was a natural fit. And when we got into manufacturing, and then in medical, we were able to work with, again, Lewis and Clark, and with one of the larger employers in the medical field down here, and it's an employer, SIHF, who serves low-income individuals, and they have clinics all over Southern Illinois. And we found a niche, and we were able to work on that and develop a great apprenticeship program for medical assistants. So for us, it wasn't hard to get into the sectors.
Thank you. I have an additional question. Can you say some more about how is IJL being cross-utilized?
We were able to, and I'm not quite as well versed on this as Matt Jones is. You know, Matt was with 22, and I was very fortunate. We've had some transitions down here, and so as my role has changed a little bit, I was fortunate to have Matt here, and Matt kind of led the charge on the business services, but and with this, and he was able to work with IDES and the other partners and come to an agreement, much like we have, like all the LWEAs have for their, with DHS and IDS and in data usage. But he was able to get it worked out so that all of the members of the business services team could have that access and be able to go in. And I'm gonna compare it to case notes, to be able to almost case note what they do with businesses and share information.
Great, thank you. Scott, was that it on the questions?
One just came in. Per Rick's
Great.
comments, IJL is currently being used as a way to share business information. We are also moving the BST to utilize a shared Outlook calendar, and that comes from Matt.
Gotta love Matt, don't you?
Thanks, Matt.
That's great, thank you. Appreciate the additional information. And I have a question for Rick. So you touched on the importance of relationships. How did you go about, and you also described it as an evolution, how did you move your relationships from a culture of competition to one of collaboration and eventually integration?
I think a lot of it had to do with education, in the sense that when we began to do this transition to WIOA, we were able to get everybody to the table. Now, some came kicking and screaming, but everybody came. And when we sat down and went through what it really was and got away from the aspect of one entity, which had been workforce, was responsible for all aspects of the one stop, and got into it that no, this is a shared partnership. This is a shared opportunity. We're all a different section of that. People were just receptive to it. Everybody wanted to be able to have their say. Everybody had their say. Everybody came to the table to work on MOUs, and we really truly didn't have a lot of confrontation. And maybe we were just lucky that we had good personalities. And I will say this, about that time, some of the personalities changed. And so maybe, it was something new, and we were just in the right place at the right time with the right people. But everybody came to the table with an open mind. As much as I'd like to tell you that it's just my delightful personality, it really was that everybody came with the right frame of mind. And they've kept an open mind through it. And that doesn't mean that we haven't had some struggles, but it hasn't been anything that we couldn't overcome. And, from those core partners, veterans is part of this now. We have youth component to what we do. The community colleges are all part of it. And we're able also to incorporate some of the other programs in St. Clair County, community development, community services block grants. CS is able to pick up training components that our grant won't stretch to. So there's been a lot of different avenues that we've been able to pull in as well. So, I think it was just everybody coming to the table with that open mind.
It also sounds as though people are beginning to see the results from service integration, the benefits to your customers. Is that a fair statement?
No, I think that's a very fair statement. And our referrals have really worked out very well. We've been able to develop a referral form. It's a utilized form now, so it's not just the lip service that it kind of started at. When it was just mandated that everybody have that referral, we actually use it. People follow up on them, and we do get good, very good results from that.
Excellent. Well, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Scott, before we move on to Brian, were there any other questions for Rick?
We had a question from Lisa Jones. Why are you guys on the main slide again?
Oh, we're back.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
now
okay.
I'm following you. Yes.
But that wasn't a question for me.
That was a question for me. Thank you.
So it's all under control. If you can, Scott, open the slide to the full view, that would be great. And then advance it, please, to Brian. And while Scott's taking care of that, we will move to Brian Hensgen, who is the Executive Director of the Workforce Development area of the Danville Area Community College, which is located in the East Central region of the state as Elwea 18. You can see their logo, Vermilion County Works. And Brian is going to be talking to us about some fascinating work that they've got going on down there. So Brian, take it away.
Thanks, Diana. I don't know how fascinating it is, but I certainly find it interesting. So basically what I want to do with my time is to just kind of give some folks a little bit of background in where Danville Area Community College kind of positioned themselves to help facilitate stronger partnerships in our county. So before I get into that, I just want to kind of give a little background on Vermilion County and local workforce area 18. We're a single county workforce area, so a lot of the things that I'm going to kind of focus on are successful because we are a smaller workforce area and we have only one community college in our boundaries. We have strong relationships with our employers, and all of our partners have always been at the table. But there has been some, just kind of like what Rick was talking about, there has been an evolution in what partners have brought to the table based on the things that they've been educated about through the years. But Danville Area Community College has always been the fiscal agent and grant recipient for Title I funds, all dating back to CETA. And so as we've transitioned to obviously JTPA, WIA, and WIOA, Danville Area Community College has always wanted to be involved because they see the value in what our system can bring to the table. So as we transition into WIOA and really wanting to foster stronger partnerships, Perkins obviously is with the post-secondary Perkins is attached to Danville Area Community College. Our adult education program is attached here at Danville Area Community College, as well as our small business development center. So, when WIOA was released and the need to have to respond to an RFP for the one-stop operator process, Danville Area Community College, sat with the leadership team, to discuss this opportunity. So one of the things that I'm proud of in terms of the design is it was my idea to really separate myself from the director position at the Title I Vermilion County Works program to develop a new department, which is the Office of Workforce Development, to kind of take a step back and kind of help guide and facilitate the process that is going to be occurring in this back in 2017 to help foster the relationships and help guide the discussions as things were developing under WIOA. But as you know, we had to go through the RFP process twice. Some of you would know. So as that process was finalized that second time, we really took the opportunity to create the separation that I felt was necessary to kind of take the focus off of the directors and the partner agencies to help make the difficult decisions that were going to have to be made, to help kind of coach folks along from the accountability perspective to ensure that folks understood the true message of WIOA and why we're all at the table, instead of having to worry about those potential silos that were in place. And I'm not going to lie, we still have scenarios where folks are protective of their data, or they are all about their individual programs. But everything we do with the American Job Center is to just inform our partners, to help them try to make the best opportunities available to our community and the job seekers that are needing our services, and to help, basically facilitate anything that comes our way when it comes to the workforce development system. So our goal is obviously to strengthen our community programs and to bring our 11 partners together. We do that in a way that we hold monthly AJC roundtables. This allows us to discuss ongoing projects, allows us to do the cross-training sessions that are required by WIOA, so that agencies are informed of everything that's going on in our county. And we discuss challenges. We do our best to eliminate any duplication that may be occurring and making sure that we maximize our resources. We've had scenarios where a community program is offering GED instruction or high school equivalency instruction, and our adult ed program's doing the same thing. And we put those folks together, and they've made the program a little stronger, and to ensure that they aren't duplicating and that we aren't wasting any of the valuable resources that we have. One of the partners that I wanted that is not a required partner, that is voluntary, a voluntary partner, is the Small Business Development Center. As we went through this process, year one, we really felt that there was a need, and I'll get into why they felt that there was a need here momentarily. But all of the roundtable sessions are led by the Stanley Community College and the one-stop operator. We also have a one-stop operator assistant, which is housed at the American Job Center to help with the traffic flow, help with all the data collection, and all the resources, and managing all the resources that go out to our job seekers and all of our partners. But as we went through the process as the OSO and trying to figure out exactly how we could help get WIOA and our American Job Center positioned in the best way to not only serve the job seekers but also the employers that are in our county that desperately needed assistance getting connected to the job seekers, we felt we wanted to develop a data collection system that was going to allow us to really foster collaboration based on the information that's collected. So what we did was started a process with individuals visiting the American Job Center, job seekers coming through the doors. We collect information on what's called a basic customer information form. Essentially, this information is collected and entered into a database, not only from contact information, but also level of education, the level of interest in different areas of potential employment, additional services needed, and that database is updated daily and shared with the partners on a weekly basis, and then at those monthly roundtable sessions. What we do with that information then is discuss it to ensure that we are focusing our workshops on the customer's needs. So if we see a high number of folks that are interested in resume building, interviewing skills, or potentially even starting a business, we get those individuals in contact with the resources that are available in our community so that they can move forward and become educated with all the information that is available, so that they can hopefully move forward in their endeavors. So with that process, as I mentioned, Small Business Development Center, 2017, they were not a partner. But after the collection of all this data, we found that 35 job seekers that came through our door were interested in starting their own business. So being a department here at Danville Area Community College, we felt as if this would be a really good partnership to incorporate the services and the workshops that our SBDC offers the community into the AJC. So on a regular basis, the AJC hosts small business startup workshops, and their department is a paying partner in the AJC MOU. So that was a great addition on top of the other core and required partners here in Vermilion County, and it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for that data collection and that data sharing that goes on in our monthly roundtables. The other process that we put in place is our common referral system. From day one, July of 2017, we started a paper process to help with referrals from going from point A to point B. But that has evolved from a 4-part carbon copy form with procedures to an online version. That online version has been extremely helpful as we work through our process. Currently, we have over 1,200 referrals that are active that we are tracking to ensure that folks don't fall through the cracks. We use this information with our one-stop operator assistant to track outcomes for all of the individuals that are in our system, all the way through successful completion or potential failure, if they didn't follow through. But we use that information and report out monthly to ensure that all partners are informed of the status of the overall project, and then individual agencies will get a report that shows how successful are their referrals. Are they really making meaningful referrals from point A to point B? Are they taking the time to get to know what is truly being discussed in their initial contact with the folks, to ensure that they aren't just being sent on a wild goose chase and sent away from a desk? We want them to get to know the individual to ensure that they are making the right choice when referring a person from one agency to the next, if they are not located inside the American Job Center. So that common referral system is extremely beneficial in helping us hold folks accountable, hold partners accountable. Something that potentially could be very difficult in a scenario with the consortium model of the OSO is not necessarily easy for us, but we are a step away from that process. We are the OSO. We are the ones that we're going to help them, help all the agencies really collaborate and become stronger. Our goal is just like everyone else's. We want our community to be served with all the fantastic resources that the AJC brings to the table. So, but we also have to know that the entry-level staff, that the managers, all of those folks are all on the same page when it comes to the AJC. So one of the additional things that we have on the agenda in the new year, I guess, in the new program year, in July and then again in January 2020, we have it on we'll just have a standing, basically American Job Center orientation, where all 11 of our partners can send any or all of their staff here to our theater here at the community college to just give them a brief orientation, if you will, of what the American Job Center is all about, the systems that are in place, so that everyone on their staffs can know about the services that are here in Vermilion County, because it all comes back to educating everybody to ensure they know what the WIOA vision is, so that as they are working with somebody, not necessarily always in their office, it could be somebody at the grocery store, but they can help an individual get to the resources that are so valuable to our community and can help help individuals get the services to become successful. And then one of the next steps that we are looking at this point is to develop a video production, if you will, highlighting all the AJC partners and their services under the Vermilion County American Job Center to really expand our presence throughout the county, so that in expanding our services, we are going to be working with our extension site up in the Hoopston area, which is in the northern part of Vermilion County, and then a high school down in the Georgetown area, which is in the southern part. We will then take our video highlights and our production to them so that they understand how it all works. And if somebody comes in that's just needing some resources, they can put them in front of this, show them the video. We can hold orientations. We can hold sessions up there at those two locations to really expand services countywide. And that's going to be I think all of our partner agencies are excited about that opportunity, because as we all know, sometimes staff is stretched beyond our abilities. So taking the ability to utilize video will help get us a more of a presence throughout the entire county. And then that's the next step, besides the self-assessment process for service integration, which locally we rolled out yesterday with our partner agencies. They now have an assignment to complete their self-assessment in their small groups and have that completed by our next meeting in July. So we are well on our way to get that process completed as well. So we're excited about where we've come from. We feel as if we're making a difference in our community, and it helps with this data collection process that we've put together to really build what we had in the past, and to make sure that we are going where we need to go in the future.
Wow, that's excellent. Thank you so much. I have one question. I'm sure we'll have a number of others from our participants here, but in many of the local workforce areas, it's been a bit of a struggle to establish the one-stop operator as really the pivot point around which a lot of these service integration activities are occurring. Did you have any challenge in establishing yourself as a one-stop operator among your partners?
No, I think
not as a point person. Sorry.
No, I don't think so. I believe, being involved with workforce development for over 24 years, I think that the partner agencies value my opinion and value the design that Danville Area Community College, with their history as well of being a leader and seeing the resources that DACC brings to the table, helps in the process. For instance, the online referral form, that's housed on Danville Area Community College's website. That technically, if we were a standalone agency or an area that didn't have potential resources to develop their own website, then we wouldn't have that opportunity. So the combination, I think, of my history in our community, and then Danville Area Community College, more importantly, Danville Area Community College, really helped foster the relationships that I think have led to our successes.
Right. So we're back to relationships again. That's our theme here. Great. Thanks. Well, Scott, do you have any questions for Brian?
We do. Couple of related questions. What online system do you use to track referrals? And the second related, how have you worked around the data sharing concerns?
So with the common referral system, we developed our own. So we utilize our own online system, and then track that information in our own database. So we don't have to, it doesn't cost us anything, which is extremely positive. So we keep that cost out of the MOU cost allocation plan. As far as data sharing, at this point, all we are sharing with initially with all of our partners or with employers is the numbers that we are seeing. So in the MOU, we do have a data sharing agreement that we can I'll pull out if I needed to, but You know, we really discuss the numbers more than the actual individual's personal information. And again, not everybody that comes into the AJC fills out the basic customer information form. We put on workshops to kind of help those that are a little apprehensive to release information. We hold workshops to let them know the benefits of that BCI, you know, and sharing that information with us. So we share the numbers with our partner agencies, and we, as the OSOs, protect their data and then utilize the information from our partners to get it in the hands of the database through email or through phone calls. So there isn't a lot of concern with data sharing, but we do feel as if, you know, the data that is collected is valuable. And, you know, one of the things, or a couple of the situations that our database that we developed on our own was to allow us to really filter out based on needs. One of the things that employers were really wanting to, that thought they feel as if it's helpful, is to employers know now to let us know through the partnership with our economic development folks and a lot of our local orientations and different groups that we're able to speak to. They get us the information that they have a potential job opening. And for instance, if we have a manufacturer in our community that really needs some folks that have a minimum of an associate's degree, interest in manufacturing, our Excel database can filter out all the information necessary, and we take that job description and send it out to all the folks that qualify for that minimum level in our database. And the employers have said they've seen an increase in after they send us their job descriptions, they see an increase in the number of folks that apply. So, you know, it is very helpful to have all that data. We certainly are very cognizant of their personal data and data sharing, and so we protect it as much as best we can. But the data that we collect is certainly very valuable to us.
Great, thank you. Scott, were there other questions?
Just a follow-up to that topic, we specifically were referring to data sharing for referrals. If you had anything to add on that.
Data sharing for referrals. In terms of, well, I guess as far as outcomes and the numbers, again, we talk about numbers with those numbers with the partner agencies. We do, when we aren't hearing back from our partner agencies on a particular status update, we do contact the partners to ensure that individual is being, that the person that was being referred is being served. Our goal, again, is to ensure that nobody falls through the cracks. And so we take, you know, our discussions in our roundtables and with our partner agencies to ensure that folks aren't being left behind. And so again, we focus a lot of our data on the numbers themselves. And when we share that information with our partner agencies, it leads to I think the wraparound services and the fact that they won't be left and fall through the cracks. And you know, I'm not sure if I completely understand the question as far as the data sharing. You know, our partner agencies have signed the MOU to allow for the data to be shared from agency to agency. So, and it seems to have worked. The only downfall to our scenario at this point is that one of our partner agencies refuses to use the online version. For some reason, they like the paper version, and that creates more expense to the other agencies, because ultimately it's a AJC supply expense that gets thrown into the MOU cost allocation plan. So the process seems to have worked over the last 2 years. and we continue to make modifications as necessary.
Brian, one more question on the system that you're using. Do you have a name for it, or is there a title for it?
For our referral, we just call it the Common Referral System, Vermilion County Common Referral System. We use it, we developed it, we put it onto our website, so we just call it the referral system. Nothing fancy.
In light of that, the core partner agencies at the state level are very aware that there are certain resources that need to be developed at the state level that locals need actually to move forward with service integration, and having a common intake and referral form has been one of those resources that's been mentioned quite a bit, as are data sharing releases. So our three panelists today have given us some great leads on potential models that we might look at, but we'll also be turning to the field and see who else has done some good work in establishing those kinds of forms that all the partners can use, which is, of course, the whole point behind service integration. So, Scott, is
one
that
thing
a question?
that I would add,
oh, go ahead,
just
Brian.
real quick, yeah, just about the common referral system that we utilize. You know, being online, as I mentioned, we did have a paper process which one partner uses. It is a 4-part document that you know, paper goes everywhere across the county. But with the online referral process, when the client is in the presence of the partner and they complete the online questionnaire, once that submit button is hit, 4 emails go out to all of those individuals or all those agencies that will be affected by that initiated referral. So the individual will get a copy of it, so they'll have all the contact information for who they are going to talk to. The agency that made the referral will have a copy for themselves. The agency that is receiving the referral, the contact person that has been designated in our procedure process, is notified that a referral is sent to them, and then our one-stop operator assistant gets a copy of all of those. So all of that information is then put into our database, and then the agency that receives the referral has a week to contact that individual to ensure that they are served. But we've been seeing they're contacted the day that the referral is made or the next business day. So that system has been revised to really get and designed to really keep everyone informed of the status of the individual, and allows us to track that person's progress.
Sounds terrific, and I believe we'll be following up with you to see what we can share. Get this tool written up and a little more information to folks who might want to adopt it.
Very good.
It's wonderful. Thank you. All right, Scott, are there any other questions?
No, they're not.
While you all are thinking, if there are any remaining questions out there, just a few comments and observations. First of all, a thank you to our 3 panelists who obviously have a deep understanding of service integration and are making great inroads, great progress in their respective local workforce areas. So this webinar was a little different from the others. As I mentioned, it was intended to be more informal. It took you through kind of 3 different approaches to service integration. Some of the common themes that came out is that clearly service integration is a journey, and it's going to take most of the workforce areas probably years to ultimately get everything in place that needs to be put in place. As was pointed out, it's about building relationships, and those evolve over time. Let us know if this kind of an informal give and take is a useful format for you. We'll make sure that gets in the survey that we send out to you. We also need to know from you what specific topics you're interested in hearing about. You can also perhaps refer to the self-assessment guide and look at the 10 different goals that you'll be assessing where you are on the continuum. If there are certain areas that you would like some assistance with and think might make a good webinar topic, let us know, and we'll pull together some folks who can help us address that, both in-state and potentially out-of-state experts. I think what's been impressive every day is the degree of expertise that's out there in the field that we have to draw from in Illinois. So if you have a unique expertise or some practices that you'd like to share, let us know, and we'd love to showcase what you're doing with your counterparts across Illinois. I guess the only other thing I want to mention is that we will have that survey going out to you. We very much would appreciate you taking a little bit of time and letting us know what works and what doesn't. We've got those 3 webinars coming up in July, and after that, we haven't really filled in our schedule, so we're looking to you for topics. We want to make sure that we're responsive to your needs. So with that, if there are no other comments from those of you who are observing on the webinar, Scott? Is that it?
That is all. Thank you. And like you said, this webinar has been recorded and it will be made available through the WorkNet website. It takes about an hour or 2 for that to render, but it will be made available.
Thank you for your assistance, and thanks to you all for participating today, and I hope you have a great